Have relations between Russia and China been as strong as they are today? That's what President Vladimir Putin has declared. The head of state is to travel to Shanghai on Tuesday in a trip expected to yield some of the biggest trade deals of the century. RT's correspondents are in the region. They report on how much both sides stand to gain.
So here we are in the financial capital of China, and probably one of the financial capitals of the world, Shanghai. And we're actually looking for a summit which is kicking off on Tuesday between Central Asian states and Russia. Now, one of the highlights of the summit, as far as I gathered, touring China for the last 7 days, would probably be a gas deal between Russia and China, a multi-billion-dollar deal. What do you make of it, Katie? How big the deal is?
It is huge. It's $270 billion worth, and it would mean providing Russian gas to China for the next 30 years. Now, this deal has been negotiated for years, so it's huge, it's unprecedented, and it will escalate the trade between these two countries, which already sits at around $90 billion. We know it's set to escalate through to 2015 to $100 billion. And at the moment, we know that the volume of gas has been agreed upon. We know the route that the gas is going to take, but it's all about a price, a compromise on price, because as you can see from the air today, the smog, China need cleaner energy. They need to reduce their dependence on coal, which at the moment they have 70%, which is more than the rest of the globe combined. They need cleaner energy, which of course Russia has an abundance of.
Well, I spoke to some of the CNPC, the National Petroleum Company of China officials in Beijing. They were cautiously optimistic, saying, as you said, it's all about the price at the moment, but they highlighted that Russia is the partner for China. Let's listen to one of the top officials from CNPC.
China has a lot of resources, natural gas and shale gas, but we of course need more. We could buy them from different countries, from the US to North Africa, but we insist that we want to buy from Gazprom, which we see as our main strategic partner.
So you can see for yourself, it's pretty obvious that they want to trade with Moscow. Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, who's coming here as well, talked to the Russian press ahead of the summit, and he underlined again how important politically and economically Russia and China are for together. But here in Shanghai, you can see it's not about Russia. It's not only about Russia. You can see all the businesses, all the foreign American, US, EU businesses here. Why does everyone need a piece of China now, Katie?
Well, it's to do with growth. I mean, it's an impressive performance that China has staged over the last 30 years. And the globe, the US, EU, Russia, everyone wants to tap into that growth. It really is as simple as that. Now, as far as China is concerned, the people of China are progressing. There's more of a middle class here. People have more of a disposable income, which makes it more attractive as well. In terms of the US and China, well, they're economic rivals. We know that China is going to be taking over from the US, the #1 spot very shortly indeed. The EU and China, then they too have their tensions as well to do with human rights, wine, solar panels, all sorts. But as far as Russia and China are concerned, well, geographically it makes sense for these two to do deals together. As I say, Russia has the gas, China needs cleaner air.
Well, obviously, we'll see whether that perspective will be cemented during the summit. And of course, we'll be watching every step of this meeting here in Shanghai as it progresses, starting on Tuesday morning. Make sure you stay tuned.
And a former British diplomat, William Mallinson, he says Russia's about turn towards Asia. It's not sitting very well with European leaders.
I think Russia's in a win-win situation, because I think Russia will maintain over the next few years, undoubtedly, its European markets and gain another bigger one in China. Let's remember that there's a lot of hot gas, if you'll pardon the pun, about this Ukraine story. And now we already know that the Germans in particular are extremely worried about sanctions. A lot of pressure is being put on the government now from companies. I don't think that the Europeans are going to be very happy at the prospect of paying much more for American gas, frankly, and it may make Europe even more a business, I don't want to use the word slave, but a business market of the US than it would actually like to be.
And I spoke to Andy Shear, an independent economist and former Asia-Pacific chief of Morgan Stanley. He says China and Russia, at the end of the day, are trying to break away from Western influence.
Oh, obviously there's this context of the US's Asian pivot. I think that China, like Russia, is trying to become less dependent on the United States. Obviously, with China's rise, there will be some tension, not just in the neighborhood, around the world. It's possible. I think that is in the background, but I think it's more important. It makes economic sense for these two countries. Not just now, also in the future. And it's very important for these two countries to trust each other, because energy is very vital. The two countries have to commit large amounts of money together, so have vested interest in this relationship.
Russia says it hopes to drastically increase scientific and technological cooperation with China in the coming years, a neighbour which has undergone an extraordinary modernisation over just the past few decades. RT's Igor Piskunov now explains just how high Beijing's star has truly risen.
China's come a long way since being one of the poorest countries in the world back in 1978. Today, it's the second largest economy in the world after the US. So how do the numbers add up? With annual GDP growth of around 9%, China has now left Europe's powerhouse, Germany, far behind. And it's expanding at double the pace of America's economy, meaning it's likely to catch up with it in just a decade. So what's the secret? Well, there's the attractive climate for foreign investment, impressive production rates, cheap, experienced labor, and all of that has resulted in China becoming the world's largest exporter, a title that the US had held for decades. So the question now is whether America can sustain its economic leadership. Well, it's widely predicted that by 2028, that crown will go to China.
Now, the gas agreement has been dubbed the Holy Grail and the deal of the century. And we'll be covering the lead up right to its signing here on RT International. And we'll continue to assess the economic impact this agreement most certainly will have around the world.
To fuel over 1 billion people, Russia and China are ready. Join RT in Shanghai for the deal of the century.